That came really quick. Hey, everybody. It's been a while. Good evening, good evening, good evening. And it's early. We're going to see how this time slot works. I hope everyone is having a happy new year. I wasn't really saying happy new year this year. But I am going to give it a few more minutes. Let me get my stuff up over here. Give people a second to come on. This is a different time. And I know we're trying this time out to see if we get better attendance. If not, we'll go back to 9 o'clock because it's kind of interrupted my day just a little bit. And it snuck up on me pretty fast. Um, Good evening, good evening. See, that's me. I don't want to hear myself. Anybody else be like, I want to hear myself talk. How is everyone doing? When you jump on, do me a favor. Um, Let me know where you're from. Um, we're going to try this time a little bit earlier than we used to do Healing Tuesday. Hi, Aunt Eldrina. How are you? Um, this is not our normal time, but we're going to try this just because 9 o'clock gets kind of late for people. And as I am working on some things with a business development team, as I branch off into something new, this is the time I'm thinking is probably best, but we'll find out. We'll see. I am Dr. Tori J. I am the founder and CEO of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. I am an author, a speaker, a coach. I am a trauma-informed healing coach, and the number one reunification expert in the country. Excuse me. Um, and that's the thing. Like that research is being done. For those of you who are new to this conversation, new to our page, I want to welcome you on. What is very important for you to know is I like engagement. This is not just for you to sit and watch me talk. I want to see you engage. Engagement helps others who are dealing with the situation of fatherlessness or whatever it is that comes up. This is not the night or the time when we talk about courts or things of that nature. That's Thursday. I want to say at 12:31, somewhere in there. Just stay tuned for that post. I'll be posting that tomorrow. But it's not the time to talk about that. It may come up. I may utilize it, but just know if I don't respond to your post when you're talking about courts and things of that nature, really sorry. This is not the night for that. This is the night to heal. This is the night to face our things and our stuff and to deal with that head on. I also want to say, for those of you who are joining in replay, welcome. Type replay in the box for me just so I will know that you're watching it in replay. I'm sorry, I got a little. And also, I want you to relax and know that this is here. I'm here to help. I'm not here to harass. I'm not here to frustrate you. I am here to help. If you are a single mom, a fatherless child, or an absent father, I am here to help you. We have different topics. If you have a topic or a subject that you would like us to talk about, put it in the inbox. We want to know. I've done a lot of different talks. Not that I can't do new ones and do different perceptions and spinoffs of that, but I definitely I need more content, right? I want to talk about some things. Tonight, we're going to talk about the culture of fatherlessness. There's a culture that's embedded within the work that I do. It's embedded within our families. And I want to discuss that with you tonight as we try out to see just how this conversation works at this time of day. I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna look at my analytics tomorrow and determine if I'm going back to 9 o'clock though. So I hope you all are doing well. As I delve into this topic, we're going to talk about this for the next couple of weeks. As I've been on hiatus and on break from this particular platform and discussing just the very idea of fatherlessness on Healing Tuesdays, culture in families keeps coming up in my spirit. It keeps coming up. And then I heard a sermon earlier today while I was walking my dog, and I was like, oh, this is a thing. This is where God is right now. Cultures and families will keep us stuck. It will keep us from growing. It will keep us in places that we didn't intend to be. So before I get ahead of myself, I want to define culture. And as I define culture, I want you to kind of think about it in your own terms. Think about it in your own situation, because I'm gonna expand it. I'm gonna define it according to Webster's, and I'm gonna define it according to Webster's 1828. And then I want you to just hear some words and where that takes you. Culture is defined as the way we maintain in a condition suitable for growth. I know for me, when I think about culture, if I just look at that right there, I'm thinking something positive. I'm thinking culture is something positive. Something culture is something good. Some culture is something that I want to maintain, and I want to maintain it in the most optimum atmosphere, so that it can grow. That's what I'm thinking when I read it. Webster's 1828 says culture is the act of tilling any prepared ground or earth for crops, the application of labor or other means of improvement. Now, Webster's gives you this idea of it is supposed to be for improvement. But when I think about culture, and we live in a world where cancel culture is a thing, and we talk about all of these ideas of what culture is, cancel culture, it's a very negative thing. Do we want that to continue? If somebody says one wrong thing and it's their lights out, they're done. That's not necessarily positive. I want to read something that was sent to me the other day. And this is going to take us into the conversation. I should have put it up on the screen. I probably can. I can do that just because I want you to see it. Seeing it gives you the ability. Let me see. Yeah, seeing it gives you the ability to connect with it more. So let me close this out. Bear with me. I haven't done this in a while. I didn't have my stuff queued up right. We're going to share my screen. Okay. So want you guys to be able to see this. This was sent to me the other day. This person says, so I'm sitting and thinking to myself, dangerous, and something pops up. Am I naturally effed up from being raised without a father? So I go and research looking for psychological issues. And what are these psychological effects of an absent father? Depression, suicide, eating disorders, obesity, and its effects, early sexual activity, addiction formation, and difficulty building and holding on to loving relationships are all side effects of an absent father. Well, so that answers that, but also a lot of us like labeling ourselves empaths or narcissists based on the behavioral patterns. But what if it's neither? What if you're just naturally imbalanced from not having a father? Now, that in itself, you guys ready to have that conversation? So let's go there. I definitely wanted to use this as a pinpoint to what fatherlessness is, the culture of fatherlessness is creating and cultivating. Because when you think of culture, you think to cultivate. And when you think of cultivate, let me go back to that because I do have that pulled up in on Webster's 1828. It's very similar to till, to prepare for crops, to maneuver, to plow, to manure, um, dress, sow, reap, to labor on, manage, and improve in husbandry, as to cultivate land and to cultivate a farm, right? So in many ways, when we're talking about cultivation, right, we're going back to a farm. We're going back to, we can go back to relationships. There's one here: to cherish, to foster, to labor, to promote, and increase. As we talk about the culture of fatherlessness. What's the culture of fatherlessness in your family? When you hear those words, when you're laboring, you're tilling, you're cherishing, you're fostering, um, you're adding manure, you're supposed to be improving, improve by correction. See, that's what it's supposed to be, but that's not what it always is. I read that post that the young lady, or Joseph, young man, sorry, posted about sitting here thinking, am I naturally messed up because I grew up fatherless? And then he goes and looks up the psychological effects and the issues that come along with it. And he lists depression, suicide, eating disorders, obesity, and the effects that come along with obesity. He's listing all of these manifestations of growing up fatherless. And when you list those things, you got questions. Hey, Darren, you begin to have questions about what is the culture of fatherlessness. And I'm taking my time with this, and I keep saying this because I want the light to come on. I want you to start thinking about what's the culture in your family concerning fatherlessness. Is it to cultivate in order to improve it and to eradicate it? Or is it to cultivate it to keep it going? Is it to maintain the status quo? Is it to maintain the trauma and all of the depression that goes along with it? And I got to tell you that the true culture of fatherlessness is trauma. Hard one to take in, hard one to think about, hard one to say, that could be true, Dr. T. I never thought about it. That's what happens to many of us. We go, I never thought about it. We're not thinking about the things that are impacting us. We're not thinking about the things that are messing with us. And I told y'all a while ago, when I deal with cognitive behavior, you have to think about the things that you are thinking about. Even when you don't know you're thinking about them, you have to pause and go, what am I thinking about? Because our mind is just constantly going. And you're wondering why you're having a bad day. You're wondering why you're feeling the way you're feeling, because there's something you're thinking about. So what is it that is creating the culture of fatherlessness in our society, but also within our families? And I can tell you, much of it is we do not live in the truth. We live behind lies. And those lies have created a culture that is keeping us in a place where we are maintaining suitable ground, suitable soil for the growth of what it is we say we don't want. I'm going to let that sink in for a minute. The culture of fatherlessness within your family keeps you on a cycle of divorce. It keeps you on a cycle of fatherlessness. It keeps you on a cycle of single motherhood. It keeps you on the cycle of poverty. It keeps you on the cycle of all of these things that you say you don't want. You promised yourself as a kid. Many of us promised ourselves we would not be, won't ever be, ain't gonna ever repeat what our parents did. And guess what you do? You repeat those cycles. You repeat those habits. You repeat those patterns. Because what you don't recognize is the ground is already tilled. The ground is already cultivated. The labor has already done to push you in that direction. And so when you come to the Fatherless Generation Foundation page and there are men on there saying, my ex-wife left, my ex-wife won't let me see my kids, my ex-girlfriend, my baby mama, I can't see my children, I can't, you know why? Because the ground was already prepared and tilled to push the situation in that direction. The mentality. What's the ground? It's the mind. It's the mindset. It was already pushed in that direction. It was already labored and prepared for generations that you would go in that direction. And the culture of fatherlessness is now embedded in your family, and it's your norm. It's how y'all move. It's what it is. You guys look around and you're like, well, she got baby daddy and she got a baby daddy and she got 3 baby daddies. This is just normal for us. We've made fatherlessness normal. And so it doesn't cause people to ask questions when fatherlessness is in their family, because fatherlessness is now the culture of families. When I can sit and say, well, think about it. What are you thinking about? You don't even think about it. You don't think that your siblings may have a different father if no one's ever told you that. You don't even question it. Even if they look different, we don't even question it. Because if we question those things, we have to question our mama. I heard Stephen Furtick say it this way. He said, the enemy will use culture to make you think you truly see and understand a thing, a situation, or a circumstance. I added that. But in truth, your family, added that part too, your family culture has you blinded to the truth. The enemy will cause you, the enemy will use culture to make you think you truly see and understand a situation, a thing, a circumstances. But in truth, your family culture has you blinded to the truth. Do you guys know that? Something I said on one of my coaching calls last night. I said it to Darren last night. The scripture says that the sins of the fathers visit the children to the third and fourth generations. But if parents never tell their children about those situations and sins that have visited before, when the visitor knocks on the door, you don't know that you're supposed to slam the door in the visitor's face or not open it at all. You ain't even looking out the peephole. You opening the door like, come on in. Because no one's ever told you about what's visited the family, about who's been visiting. So you don't even know. You have not a clue. You have not a clue. And in not having a clue, it causes you to repeat cycles that you promised yourself. You swore for God. You made a vow to yourself that you would never repeat. Thanks, Auntie. And so in the midst of all of that, what do you do? How do you manage this? How do you navigate this? You got to find the truth, and not your truth, not somebody else's truth, and definitely not your mama and your daddy's truth. People always say the truth, it's their side, their story, his story, her story, and around there's the truth somewhere, and there's the truth. You got to find the truth from hearing his story and her story. And many of you won't even sit down and hear your daddy's story because your mama told you a story, and you won't even listen to your daddy's story. You won't even listen to your father's story so that you can figure out the truth. You're just holding on to the one person, the one truth, the one-sided story that has you leaning and limping through life. See, when you lean to one side, and I said this in a talk I did recently, when you lean to one side of yourself, which is your mother's side, the maternal side, you are limping through life, and people who are healed and whole can tell it. That's why they say you attract who you are or what you are, or you're attracting someone who can help heal you and vice versa. That's the thing. But I don't know if we pay attention to that enough. I need you to understand that the truth requires all sides of the story to be told. And tonight on Healing Tuesday, I'm putting your feet to the fire on that. There are dads on here who've been alienated for, a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and they're just waiting for the chance. They're just biting at the bit to tell their side of the story. But if they tell their side of the story, the child's going to run, the child's going to do this, the child is a grown person. And they're mad that you're throwing their mom under the bus. But there's a point where we have to hold not only our fathers accountable, but our mothers. I've watched it happen for too long where fathers are holding the entire bag of fatherlessness. They're holding the entire blame of it, when in truth, both parents have played some role, some part. Maybe some have played more part than other, and maybe not. But you won't know until you know both sides of the truth or both stories. Culture, family culture leaves you with blind spots. I want to read this because I want to say this the way that I wrote it down. Culture will cause you to culture will cause you to turn your experience into truth when in fact it's just your experience. Now, people can say, well, Tori, that's just your experience when it comes to those fathers. That's a little different. I've worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of fathers. I've reunited over 8,300 children now with their fathers, and I've done over 3,000 plus reunites that we're actually talking about, that we actually log, right? But I'm not going to talk to you about the stuff with my friends and people who I know. I had a friend today text me. I'll read the text because it mattered to me. My friend and I were talking about a specific journey that she's currently on. And I blessed her with something today. It wasn't much. It was monetary. I don't have much. Was not much at all. Um, but it was something that could get her some gas and some food, right? And once again, I don't have much. So it wasn't like it was a lot. This person has, um, throughout 20 years of friendship, has given me more than I've given her today. Like it was that small of amount. And one of the things she came back and said to me, I was like, it's the least I could do after everything that you've done for me throughout the years. And she said, you've been a blessing to me as well, with everything that you've done for me, um, that money can't buy. You see, she's now walking through a journey, and I've been there for quite some time, through that journey, um, of figuring out who her father is. There's two options. There's two men on the table. And not only figuring it out, but then working through that and sitting down with them and having conversations and trying to reunite with them. Hey, Jason, how are you? And working to reunite with them and figure out who is her father. And that process is heavy. And as a friend, I'm walking her through that. And I've walked multiple friends through these journeys. I've walked people through, court things in my inbox who are legitimately my friends, not just random people who are inboxing me. I'm talking about this person is 20 years of friendship. This year will be 21 years. Um, I'm glad I'm on here at a time where you can catch me. I'm changing the time to see how this works. But as I watch her, go through this journey that she's on, it's been a fight. She's even made a move to be closer to the two men and her family as she goes through this, which has cost her significantly financially. And trust me, I get it. I get it. When I tell you I get it. But here's the thing. We're all on a weird journey and we all have things going on. And sometimes it's not the money that you offer people. It's the advice, it's the listening ear, it's the insight. And when I can help my friends, I feel like I'm cultivating, the culture of fatherlessness in their lives. I'm cultivating something different. I'm cultivating a family structure. I'm cultivating not the suicide and depression that I read in that Facebook post, not the teenage pregnancy. I'm cultivating a new generation who's going to eradicate fatherlessness. They're not going to walk in imbalance and instability. They're going to walk in the balanced life, the alignment of God. That's my plan. See, my plan is not to, my truth is not about me. My truth is about him. And God intended for us to have family. He intended us to be together as a unit. He intended us to have both parents walking side by side to help develop us and help grow us up, to help not only maintain us. I hate to say it, but I know, some people don't like this conversation, but moms, you're not raising your children. You're only maintaining them, because the things that you bring up and you bring to the table is, I keep a roof over their head. I feed them. I do. But how are you developing them? What are you developing them into? Because keeping a roof over their head and feeding them is, yes, it's tough, but it's maintenance. We have to stop equating survival to success. Hear me out. Stop equating survival to success, because what really happened was you guys survived the fatherless home that you lived in, and now you grew up and now you're like, okay, I can build my own home. But guess what you do in that survival? You now create a fatherless home. You create a home where you as a man thought, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. This is where I'm going to be. And I'm going to love her and I'm going to love my children. I'm going to be the best husband. Yep, because I got married. But then you repeated the cycle, because not only did your mother get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divorces, your uncle, your brothers, your sisters, your cousins, and everybody's divorced even after they did get married. And so now you still have bred a culture of fatherlessness, and now you've added divorce to the equation. And what do you do with that? How do you fix that? I thought this quote was something Like, whew, I didn't even know how to handle this when I read it. I'm going to read it to you. So many of you continue to have a culture of fatherlessness. Ready? Because you're addicted to the lies, so much so that you're unable to hold on to the truth. You're addicted to the lies, the narrative that was told to you about your father. You're addicted to the lies that were told to you about your mother. You're addicted to the lies that were told to you by your mother concerning your father. That you can't even hold on to the truth. See, the holding on to the truth requires you to take that truth in and to accept it and to work through it and allow it to work through your heart and to allow it to get down up in there and begin to uproot every lie that was told to you. And as painful as that is, it is liberating. It is freedom. But many of you won't even get to the other side of that because of the pain that it's causing you initially and because of the fact that you do not desire to know the truth about your mother as a woman. It's like she's a deity. We're going to keep her on that platform. And I'm sorry that I'm on mothers, but I hate to do this to you. Too much of the fatherless journey that many of us have experienced was cultivated by our mothers. Yep, our daddies left. They did. And Thursday, I'll get into the culture of fatherlessness from a court's perspective. But tonight, I'm in a place where I have to deal with this. Jason says, I'm grateful that my mom didn't say disparaging things about my father growing up. And I'm gonna challenge that a little bit, Jason. We don't need our mothers to say anything disparaging. I get what you're saying, though. Your position is she didn't say anything, so I didn't have that journey. This is where I want to go because a lot of people are going to say that. This may not be your journey, but I want to piggyback and challenge that a little bit. She might not have said anything, but how she responded to him when he knocked at the door, him not showing up, all of those things, like you felt the energy in the house. And so you knew that your mother didn't like your father and you knew there were issues in the midst of that. And even when you went, your mother, if you went with your father, you came back and your mother had 50 million questions about what happened, where'd you go, what'd you do, all of that. And so you knew there was an issue. I got you. I don't want to throw, I ain't trying to slide your mom under the bus and she don't need to be. I'm not, that's not my place. I just want to be clear as to how I'm moving. Jason said, I hear you. Didn't say I didn't have that journey. Right. I just want to be clear. Jason be like, you throw my mom under the bus. No, I promise you I'm not. I'm just being clear that a lot of times we say that there's mothers who say, well, I don't keep my child from going with their daddy. I don't say nothing. Yeah, but you don't promote it either. You don't push it either. And dads, I want to challenge you as well tonight. Just because she's a challenge, just because she's a struggle and she got trauma and drama and all of that, you opt out and say, I'm going to wait until they're 18. How dare you? Trauma then is set in. You've lost time. They've lost time. How dare you? How dare you take the comfortable seat and ride in the comfortable part of the bus until most of the work has been done. And then you think you're going to come and scoop up the child and deal with the trauma and all of that. No, they may not desire to deal with you at all because the trauma has been rooted in them. I know. I just want to be sure because some folks be watching, Jason. They be like, and so I need you to understand that the culture of your fatherless household has you addicted to the lies, so much so you can't even hold on to the truth. Here's what the truth looks like. It's that post that I put up earlier where the individual is saying, am I really messed up because I grew up without a father? And then they go to Google and see all of the effects. See, some of you will Google and see the effects and say, nope, that ain't me, that ain't me, that ain't me. So I don't have no fatherless issues. I can give this person kudos and an applause because they saw themselves in the issues. They were like depression, suicide, eating disorders, obesity, early sexual activity, addiction formation, and the difficulty of building and holding on to loving and lasting relationships are all side effects of an absent father. So what they did was they placed themselves within that, and then they began to ask another question. as their mind began to turn. See, some of you will not even allow the conversation to happen. And I've watched this with people when it comes to the word of God. The word of God says that the sanctification of the word washes you with the word, right? It washes you out. It washes out all of the icky stuff. It washes out all of the bad stuff. It washes out all of the lies of the enemy. But what some of you do, even when it comes to the word of God, oh yeah, for those of you who are engaging, you're like, what did God have to do with this? I'm a minister too. And so that's always going to play a part. What the word of God is intended to do is for you to think over it, mull over it, midrash with it, wrestle with it, and put it into your life and see how it. But many of you won't even do that because you know what? You're afraid of what the truth looks like. Read a scripture and say, well, what do you get out of that? What does that look like for you? Oh, that ain't got nothing. We just reading. We just reading the word. The word of God is a living epistle. It's living and breathing. I came on here at the end of the year and I prophesied, and I don't do that on here, but I prophesied and told you reunification is coming for many of you. That's God's end time promise to you. And we're watching it happen in culture, in the arts, in just music and pop, in everything that we see in pop culture. That's the word I want. In pop culture, we're watching reunification happen. I'm watching several TV shows. I got to watch them on the weekends, but I'm watching several TV shows right now that are reunification based. Mothers lying, getting caught. I was like, wait, what? Huh? Wait, did that happen? It happened. And it's happening because the season is here. The season of reunification is here for you. And some of you have been battling in courts. And one day you're just going to get a call. It'll be from your child or your ex. And they're going to say, it's time. I'm sorry. I need your help. Because at the end of the day, the culture of fatherlessness is slowly dissipating because we have a new generation. We have two new generations that's come behind us. Because that fatherless generation, I was about to say foundation, we messed up. We can't keep solid relationships. We got sexual issues. I know folks who got 5, 6 baby mamas and baby daddies and think it's cool because we've made it a norm. Jason said, majorly messed up. It just shows up in different ways. And for me, I had to have to intentionally work through self-image and growth. I got to look in the mirror and challenge my lenses on all aspects of life because of fatherlessness. Jason, that's a whole message in itself. Let me tear that apart a little bit. My word of the year is intentional. So I love that word right there. I am intentional about everything I do, from my friendships to my business relationships. Like people who I talk to on a regular basis, just expect blessings and gifts from me this year, because it ain't going to be a lot, but it's intentional. That's why I said earlier, I'm going through a struggle bus right now myself. Some of y'all who have been on, the situation in my household right now. And that's been a journey in itself. It's new, right? And so I'm a woman of God, so I'm always rock until I ain't. And so some people are like, what? You don't get it, but it is what it is. For those who know, you know. But the word is intentional. And you've got to work through your self-image and grow, because here's the issue with self-image. You may think you look good, but until you really look at yourself, look in the mirror with no filters. We could go on right now, Jason, with filters, because those filters that have been placed on you came from your mother, who was painting a narrative that ain't even true, right? Or maybe it was true. Let me go there. Maybe it was true. And so she told you act just like your daddy. So when you look in the mirror, all you see is your daddy who left, and you're wondering how you're gonna stay and stick and stay, because all I see is my daddy, and he left, because all my mother talked about was my daddy. I look like my daddy. I act like my daddy. You got to look at yourself with no filters. You have to look at yourself with no blind spots. You have to have people around you who will check you. My friend Andam read me like a book last week on a situation I had going on. Like, the truth was, I was sitting there like, because when authority shows up and truth shows up, you may cry, you may struggle, but you know it's the truth. My husband had a hard time with that because I would cry. And he thought he had to walk on eggshells because I cried. And it didn't mean anything. I was absorbing the truth. It takes a lot to take a truth. You don't want to disappoint your husband. You don't want to disappoint the people you love. And if they're telling you the truth, it's going to create tears. If it ain't telling the truth, it may create something else. I don't know. But my husband, when he was challenging me on certain things, he wasn't lying. And it wasn't why I wasn't crying. It was the thing where I had to look at myself and say, yep, that filter, that's off. And now he's got a problem with that. So you got to make the adjustment with that. Because that's a blind spot he just pointed out. Own your blind spot, Tori. And I owned it, and I became better because of it. I'm a better woman. I'm a strong woman. And I know I'm an awesome wife. That's the beauty. See, Jason, let me tell you something. See, I'm tear up. This journey, I grew up without a father. So I didn't know what kind of wife I was going to be. But I was intentional about being a good wife, of being a great wife. And I can look back and say, I'm a great wife. I am a great wife. And I love that part of myself. See, when you don't have a father around and your mother was never a wife, or you don't have a father around, so you don't know what a husband looks like. You don't know how you're going to show up. You don't know. You think you do. And you have plans in your mind and in your heart as to how you're going to change the culture of fatherlessness in your family. But some of you don't do the work and you don't do nothing about it. And so then you repeat the cycle. And unfortunately, some of you, it takes two to create this marriage situation. And some of you decide not to do the work and do the tools. So you repeat the cycle in the life of somebody who's done the work, who had the tools, and now they've still got to live out a culture of fatherlessness or divorce in their situation when they did everything possible for that not to happen. Not only in the situation, but outside the situation for themselves. But because you don't do the work, you repeat the cycle not only in your own life, but in somebody else's. Jason said, we got fathers standing up for their children and not allowing themselves to be exited out from the lives of their children. Absolutely. Absolutely. And yes, you got to learn to love yourself for who you are and allow that growth. And I want to go back to something you said, that self-image. See, too many fatherless sons, you had your self-image and your self-worth torn down because you were given roles and responsibilities you weren't even developed for, weren't even equipped to handle, didn't even have the experiences to understand, didn't even have the ability. When someone hands you something heavy, you've got to plant your feet a certain way, right? You didn't even know how to plant your feet. So your feet were pulled from underneath you, and your self-image and your self-worth were removed from your life. And now you don't even know who you are. You don't even know how to look in the mirror at yourself. We talking about looking in the mirror. You don't even know. So boys have been given this heavy weight to carry. You're the man of the house. And I've been talking about this on my social media. You're the man of the house now. And this thing is dropped in your lap. You want to know why so many Black men are in prison for selling drugs and all of that during the 80s, 90s, and in the early 2000s? Because they were given a role that they were not able to handle. They didn't even have the experience or the wherewithal to handle. And you can't get a job at 8, 9, and 10. But guess what? The local dope boy will give you a little runner, a little position, and you can make money and make sure your siblings and your mama's fed. Especially during the crack era when your mother's out there on drugs. And not only do you not have a father, you don't even have a mother. And it's up to you to carry this heavy weight. And some of you will say, well, I didn't have that. My mother was home and she was this and she was great. But were you a latchkey kid? Because I know a lot of us were latchkey kids because our mamas worked certain shifts at a certain point. And then I became the parent in my household. My mother, she would say to me, your son, your brother. my son. I was the emotional support, the emotional supply in the household. And when I left, the household collapsed. And they both blame me to this day for leaving, going to college. Leaving, I don't care if I didn't go anywhere. I was out of there. And I recognize now that when I left, Jason, I was running. I was trying to escape. I was trying to escape. I didn't want that responsibility anymore. That ain't my child. Love him. He ain't mine. Jason, you said, and if you come up in a society that doesn't encourage development, the mixed signals tell you you have to know well. The mixed signals tell you that you have to know well before you were taught. Absolutely. And you're penalized for not knowing. Absolutely, Jason. You are. And I sit and watch the challenges that many have. I'm going to tell a story because I think this is important. During this time and during this break, I got a phone call from this girl, and I was going to get the front of my hair rebraided, and my phone was ringing off the hook, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, she keeps calling, and I'm like swiping it, decline. She texts and says, "It's me, blah blah blah," and I said, "So?" Like, that's how I was sorry, because I already knew the betrayal that had happened. I already knew, and this person had called me and leaned on me a couple of times. We don't even talk like that. A couple of times. And she had leaned on me for some things, and I gave her God's word, and I prayed for her. And then there was another time where I just gave her, like, homegirl, like, if you that upset, then stop being the mistress. Yep, she's a mistress. So she calls me and she's frustrated, Jason. And she's like, "It's me. I need to talk to you." So I pick up the phone and I'm like, "What?" And she begins to tell me about a situation that has happened. Yeah. And the principal was called by mistress number 2, and mistress number 2 calls the school, and she could get fired because supposedly mistress number 2 is saying that mistress number 1 is stalking the dude and mistress number 2. Well, the principal didn't fire her, thank God, and it wasn't a situation as much as it could have been, because the principal was very aware of the relationship, because the dude works at the school and he had just given her lunch right in front of the principal, and the principal's like, "Wait, what?" So in the conversation, I'm watching this play out. And see, when we talk about the challenges, right? That early sexual activity, but also that hypersexual activity. That's a culture of fatherlessness. That's trauma manifesting itself. And so the man at the center of all of this, I'm texting him like, "Really?" Supposedly, they watch my lives and watch to see if I'm broken down based on what's happening between me and my husband, or what they thought or thinking is happening between my husband and I. And so he's keeping his mistresses in line by saying, "See, she told us that she's struggling. See, she told us that she's," and I need people to understand, if you watching my personal page, the glow up is real, because when you deal with yourself and you acknowledge some of the stuff Jason and I are talking about, looking in the mirror, challenging yourself, looking at the places where you did do an amazing job, and you own that, and you hear messages and you go, "Nope, that was the right thing to do. Yep, that was the right position to be in. Yep, that other person decided to do something different, and that's okay. I can't change that." And you own that aspect of it. But there are people who are sitting watching, looking for my downfall, and I promise you, you're not going to find it, because I walk with God and he walks very closely with me, very distinctly with me. And what you're going to see first is your downfall before you ever see mine. And so be very clear that as you're watching on here, looking, because I felt that, Jason, I'm sorry. I felt that they were on here, because they don't click it to watch it where I can see that they're on here. They click, they just stand by and watch it. Be very clear that your downfall will come well before mine. And so as I'm talking about the culture of fatherlessness, when you have multiple mistresses, after I helped this person reunite him with his father, but he never did the full work. And I could tell he didn't want to do the full work, right? I'm not, once again, I told you I help friends. This man found his father. He did a live with me in DC one year, and his father, he told his brother about it. His father contacted him within 24 hours, and he used to knock on this man's door, lived right around the corner from him, like less than 5 minutes from his house. I don't even think it was a minute, and they wouldn't let him in. And this is the same person who's sitting by going, "Yeah, watch her. See, she did this and she did." Child, bye. Stop it. That's a culture of fatherlessness. Because when you have to have multiple women running game on them and you into your 50s and you don't know how to be honest and own the truth and tell people what it is, what you're doing is breeding and creating fatherlessness, because those women are attached to you because they didn't have their own father, and you're preying upon that. And you're attracting who you are. You just ain't got played yet, sir. Oh, I'm being personal. Mm-hmm. And Darren says, sadly, fatherlessness is not only seen in homes, but also in schools. Hold on, Darren. I'm going to get to that in just a second. Because these people are school teachers, right? They teaching your children while they at school fighting over she a mistress at the school. And the wife work at the superintendent office. And then y'all sitting here trying to use my life as an example. Oh, you better use my life as an example in the right way. I don't breed a culture of fatherlessness. I don't have children, not because I don't want them. Oh, my twins are coming this year. Believe that. Yep, saying it out loud on social media. Twins are coming this year. Y'all gonna be like, how'd that happen? Don't even worry about how it's gonna happen. I ain't asked God how either. That ain't my business. That's not my business. But be very careful in how you handle someone because you have a culture of fatherlessness in your life and they may not. Be careful how you handle them, because that's going to play back out into your life. Your sons and daughters, when you're doing things like what I was just talking about, cheating and having multiple women and playing games with women, y'all think these women ain't somebody's daughters? And then you have daughters and wonder why men going to do the same thing to your daughters. God will not be mocked, ladies and gentlemen. Your daughters will pay the price and the penalty for the women that you played and ran game on. And I know you think your child is bigger and better than that because it's my daughter and it ain't going to happen to her. But the people I'm talking about, your daughter will experience that very same thing. And you will not be able to help her because your life will flash right before your eyes. You won't even be able to help her because the man she's talking about is you. And unless you walk in, face and trace your trauma and your truth, you won't even be able to help her. And you then will also create and continue to cultivate fatherlessness, not only in your life, but now in hers. When we say fatherlessness is not only seen in homes, but also in schools, teachers are experiencing that. Children are clinging to men like Darren, who are very few Black men who are teaching in schools, public schools. They cling to them. They have conversations with them. He's even a football coach. He's one of my coaching clients. That's how I know so much about him. But I hear stories that he tells me, and I watch this even in our peer groups. When we have a Black man who is a peer group leader, which we need more of, they cling to him differently than they do the women who show up. I don't care if the women are white or Black. When a Black man shows up as a facilitator, it's a different movement. See, we set the tone when we do that. Even in our peer groups, we're changing the lives of those children. We're helping them look now in the mirror. We're helping them assess things now so that when they become adults, they go, oh, that's what Miss Tori was talking to me about. You guys are going to see some videos very soon. I got to go back to Atlanta in the next couple of days because I'm filming some things with our new peer group ambassador. And she was she was in our very first peer group. And she's like, Miss Tori, I get now what you were saying. I know how to heal, and I've been walking through, and I know how to walk over these things. And she's even encouraged me in some of my down times, reminding me of who I am. Like, really, 20? She's got it because she's known me a long time. She was 8 years old in my peer group. And if anything, I was able to stop teenage pregnancy from happening to her. I was able to stop that from happening to her brother. He was so cute. All the girls was trying. I was like, Lord Jesus. And I know they have parents, but we were giving them tools to supplement the things that their parents weren't aware that they needed to teach them. The cultivation of fatherlessness in your families have you on a track that you're not even aware of. have you moving in a direction that you might not really see the full scope of it until it's too late, because the land has already been tilled, primed, labored over, and all that's happening is you're being drawn and pulled into that direction without any way to turn because you don't even know which way to turn. When I talk about that personal thing with that gentleman and his wife and his two mistresses who are literally hashing it out on social media, okay? These are 50-plus-year-old women posting. It's a culture of fatherlessness, y'all. They're fighting for this man simply because their father didn't fight for them. They're fighting for this man because he epitomizes authority and leadership in a way that they desire, although he's not that. I've had the conversation with her, and she's candid. He would never want me to reveal what she said about him. Never. And I wouldn't. That's not who I am. We've got to understand that a lot of times your fatherlessness, as Jason said, it plays out in different ways. It doesn't all look the same. Sometimes you can't Google um, aspects of or effects of fatherlessness and having multiple women and mistresses come up. That doesn't come up. But hypersexuality comes up. Do you think of yourself as a hypersexual person? Do you think juggling multiple women or cheating on your wife with multiple women is a fatherless issue? Maybe you're repeating the cycle in the situation with your father. See, I don't come from a long line of fatherlessness. I don't. My mother was raised in a two-parent household. It was dysfunctional, but she was. And my grandmother, she was raised in a two-parent household. Her mother, my great-grandmother divorced, and then she remarried. So marriage was a part of my journey, and that's something I've been doing during this time too. Shout out to my Aunt Carrie. We've been spending hours upon hours on the phone. And I come from an amazing line of women and men. I do. And that is important for you to know. The culture of fatherlessness may not go as long and in deep into your family as you think, but if it does, you need to call that auntie, that one auntie who's going to tell you the truth about everybody. Who were they before life hit? Who were they before a situation happened? Let me tell you a story. My grandmother, I ain't got no questions. I know I was one of her favorites. Even my Aunt Carrie verifies that. My great grandmother used to look at her and say, "You can't be favoritism. You can't have favoritism towards some of these grandkids." It was myself and my cousin Benito. Benito, it was us. And I think we both know it, right? He had a nickname. I had a nickname. I don't know if my other cousins had a nickname, but I know him and I had nicknames. And my grandmother, by the time, I'm born, she is addicted to prescription drugs. So I know this crazy, loudmouth, cussing, over the top grandmother. Not to say that the drugs did that, because I think she was always that way. But the addiction part, that was a thing. Talking to my Aunt Carrie, I find out, and I knew some things about my grandmother. My grandmother was a dancer at this amazing place in Battle Creek, Michigan called the El Grotto. She was also a dancer at Idlewild. Many of you know that name from the Outcast movie, but that's really a place in Michigan. It's like Martha's Vineyard for Black people. It's like, remember the movie Inkwell back in the day? That's what it is. And so my grandmother was there, partying it up, having a great time. And her and my Uncle Joe were the dancers to watch. They were the people that individuals came to see. And El Grotto, as I Googled it, as my aunt is telling me about it, this is the place that Motown came out of. Anybody who performed at the El Grotto more than likely went on to Motown in some way, shape, or form. Maybe didn't stay long, but they still came out of the El Grotto. One night driving from the El Grotto, my grandmother and my Uncle Joe get into a car accident with a semi truck. It creates a situation where my grandmother has to have surgery. She is hurt, and they give her prescription drugs to assist with the pain. Well, the pain never goes away, and then she finds herself, like many people in this opioid epidemic, looking for drugs on the street. I've watched my grandmother call a little drug dealer boy over from Lessman's to get her Vicodin and her throw it back with Christian Brothers. I'm going to tell y'all the truth. This is my journey. This is who I am. That's the grandmother I knew, but learning my grandmother was all of these amazing things before life hit her. My grandmother owned her own home. My mother still says she owed on it. I get it, but being a Black woman in the 40s and 50s, and you own your own home, and the neighbors were white, y'all. When I was going over there, they had white neighbors. I never saw, I think some of the people across the street were Black. I think the people next door might have been Hispanic, maybe. But the people here, and yeah, it was big houses, two white families. They didn't live in the hood. How does that happen? How does that happen? Because my grandmother was a bad woman. But life hit her. Very much so, like many of you. Life has hit you. And life has created some negative circumstances for you, which has caused you to forget how dope you were before that hit you. It's caused you to forget how amazing of a person you are. Fatherlessness has hit. You're a single mother. You're an absent dad. You grew up fatherless, and you can't think about the positives of yourself. You can't think about your self-worth and having a positive self-esteem because you don't remember who you were before the culture of fatherlessness hit you. But I need you guys to know that you are dope. And it's not that far. It's not that deep inside. It's just requiring you to shift your lens and look at a different aspect of yourself. Shift your lens and realize that you don't have to be hypersexual and cheat on your wife and cheat on your girlfriend. Look, cheat on your girlfriends and cheat on your wife with your girlfriends with another girlfriend. Like, it's just ridiculous what's happening. And I tell that story about them because that's all rooted in trauma anyway. And it's rooted in fatherless trauma. I don't know mistress number 2, but I know mistress number 1. And I know a daddy wasn't where he needed to be. I'm telling you guys, there's a way to see life and see it differently. Don't be so upset. And they say, don't take the actions of another person so personal. It's hard not to, but let me give you another thought. She's not intentionally alienating your children. It's actually a manifestation of her own trauma. It's her trauma that's causing her to do that. I know you're like, I still want to see my kids. I get it. But I want you to see her humanity. I want you to see that she doesn't mean it. She just needs a mindset shift. That's a tongue twister. She needs her perspective turned around. She needs her trauma healed. She doesn't know. Can we sit in that too? When we're fatherless, many of us don't even know we're fatherless. I know my daddy. He wasn't really around, but I know him. Do you know him though? Was he there to develop you? If he wasn't, even if he was in the home, you're fatherless. And you're having the same experience and the same journey as those who didn't know their father at all. One's just a little more elevated. And I think the one who had the father in the home and he wasn't there, that thing is off the Richter scale. That trauma is off on another team. It's on a whole nother level. And let me talk to the single mom really quickly. He didn't leave because he wanted to leave you. He left because he didn't know how to stay. Nobody taught him how to stay. Nobody gave him the tools on how to stay. So instead of fixing what he broke with you, he'd rather move on and try to implement new things because it's hard to face the brokenness that you created. It's hard to face that. So he just moves on to the next thing. When sticking and staying actually gets the most benefit. You watch men do that all the time. He moves and he tries to get it right here and to get it right, he moves to the next thing. He tries to get it right here and he moves to the next thing. He tries to get it right and he moves and he keeps moving because he's not getting it right. Sir, it's time for you to face yourself. Because the issue is not your inability to stay. The issue is the story that you've been told that keeps you from staying. The story you've been told about your father's absence, the story that you've been told about why you're fatherless, the story that you've been told and fed about your mother and who she is as a mother, but you don't know her as a woman. That's what's causing you to move and you can't stick and stay. And the fatherless child who's watching, who's an adult, let me tell you something. It's not your fault. Even if your mother told you it was your fault. Even if you look in the mirror and say, I look just like him. Maybe that's why she don't like me. It's not your fault. That's their trauma. Let them own it. The culture of fatherlessness can end with you. It can end with you, but it's up to you to face it so that all of those things that are listed about fatherless children don't have to continue down your family line. All those things that Joseph listed that I talked about earlier doesn't have to be with you, but you're going to have to do some work. It's your job to overcome so your children don't have to. It's your job to overcome the trauma so you don't parent your children from trauma. I don't care what they say. My husband parented from his own trauma, and so did his baby mama. And if they're watching, I don't care. My mother parented from her trauma. I just did the work. And I still got work to do. I wasn't perfect in my marriage, but I owned my stuff when it came up. I'll tell you that. And I know how to be accountable to some stuff. I told you, my friend Andam ate me alive last week. And it wasn't about my marriage and it wasn't about my husband. It was about a different situation. Ate me up. Showed me how I have created some challenges. See? Block that user. In my own personal journey, not my husband, just some other things. You see how you did that there? You see how you did that there? See how you did that there? And then we're talking about a different person. See how you did that there? See how you, and I was like, yep. See how they would get that idea? Yep. I do. And I owned it. I owned it. Took a deep breath and I sent that person a text message. It was hard to send that text message. Told you I'm intentional this year. It's hard. Whew. Skin's still on fire, and that was a week ago. Thank you, Jason. Jason said, true, and we need to exercise compassion on those inflicting trauma. Yes, if they haven't done the work to get to the other side, they can't get there. They may not know where to begin. They don't, Jason. But let me say this. If you have someone giving you the information and helping you get there, and it's your wife, it's your girlfriend, no, it's your wife or your husband, you got to, really? Oh, that's right. They're using it as a tool of manipulation and control. If you got a good wife and a good husband, they would never use God or anything of that nature as a way to manipulate and control you. But guess who would? Those who are trying to keep the culture of fatherlessness alive in your life and in theirs. Because the moment you get set free, it reveals that they're broken and they're not set free, that they are bound. See, what people do not realize, Jason, and I'm going to get off of here, in the culture of fatherlessness, those who are stuck in bondage will fight to keep you in bondage. And I don't care if they saved, oh, they go to church or they pray and they do this and they did. Nope. That means nothing if the word of God isn't manifesting in their lives. And I'm not talking about the stuff they have. Stuff is easy to accumulate. What's their character like? See, I lose friends a lot, y'all, just so you know. But they always circle back. They're always in my inbox. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that. Can we be friends again? That's what the mistress was doing. Can we be friends again? I said, no. You and me ain't going to be friends again. Because see, I don't tell people the truth. I'm not a harsh person in that way. Truth is hard when you have to hear it, right? But I'm not talking to you in a harsh tone. I'm talking to you from a place of compassion and love when you're my friend, right? So when I share something with you in love and then you decide to betray me and then talk bad about me and then want to circle back, I appreciate you circling back, Jason, but it don't mean we're going to be cool. Like we can't be. She was like, can we be friends? No. I did play that. I'm pray about it. I ain't need to pray about that. No. No. You know why? Because there's a specific anointing attached to me. And I recognize that certain spirits like to come and they like to hang out. And instead of calling you my friend, I can just cast the spirit out and you can get free and we can keep it moving. See, that's how I've grown, Jason. I don't need to be your friend to help deliver you. I don't. But people are drawn to my anointing. And if I don't draw a line and create boundaries, I find myself in some very difficult situations. And so at the end of September of 2021, I started drawing very specific, very clear boundaries in that smoky voice. Yeah. Yep. Darren is crazy. He liked to talk about movies, y'all. Yeah, exactly. That's Friday, I'm pretty sure. You have to know your assignment. I understood the assignment, Jason. I understood it. And in understanding the assignment, I'm now drawing very clear boundaries. You ain't gotta be my friend. I can help deliver you from the culture of fatherlessness without us being friends. Many of you come to my personal page and say, "Hey, want to be your friend?" I'm sorry. This is my personal page. Now, you can watch the public post from outside the page, but I'm not letting you into my personal space like that anymore if we are not legitimately like real friends. Because like I said, yes, Baruch Hadashim. Yes. Yes. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not here to, I don't have to be friends to deliver you. I don't have to be friends to reunite you. I don't have to be friends to speak the word of God that's flowing through me to you. Maybe you need the friendship in order to receive. Not going to be our journey anymore. Because I can't have, y'all can call it energy, y'all can call it spirit, y'all can call it demon, y'all can call it whatever you want to call it. I can't have that infiltrate and keep coming into my existence and causing havoc in my household and in my life. I have a specific anointing to break the culture of fatherlessness in your lives. But you're going to have to own some really hard truths in the process of doing that. It's going to tear up the narrative you already have about your family dynamic. And it's going to cause you to hear some truths, but also have to receive and know some truths. And knowing the truth, as they say, sets you free. Not hearing it, not having it spoken to you, but knowing it. And when you know it, you bounce it around. You mull it over, gets in your heart, gets all up in there. Some of you got to know the truth in order to break the culture of fatherlessness over your life. And knowing the truth is going to set you free from depression, hypersexuality, the false narrative, suicidal thoughts, all of those things. It's going to set you free. It's going to make you free, as Jason put. Yeah. It's going to set you free in a way where you will no longer put yourself or your children or your children's children, because that's what you're doing. You're putting them in harm's way. Mama, when you decide to alienate, you set what in the court world they call a precedence. And God is government, and Satan, he loves obeying the law. Trust me. God is government. And so when we're talking about it sets precedence, now it gives the enemy free reign and access to pull you along any direction he wants to pull you because you've now opened the door. How do you close the door is the question for many of you. Getting the truth and knowing it. Putting a light on your life and saying, where does this truth fit? You got to shine the light. So next week, I'm going to keep talking about this. We're going to break some cultural bloodline strongholds next week. I'm going to keep talking to y'all in regular vernacular, Jason. Because I think they can receive it better without me going too spiritual. And I'm trying to keep it there. And I'm always going to share you guys my personal journey. So don't get upset. For those of you who are my people, I'll keep your name out of it. Unfortunately, there's some people whose name, can't be kept out of it, but because people know who I'm married to or whatever, but I keep that at a minimum. But I need you guys to understand that I'm going to set you free. I'm going to set you free in such a way during this series that you may not wait for the call to reunite. You may make the call. And because of your tone and how you show up, reunification could happen for you that way too. So I'm going to get off of here. I'm Dr. Tori J. Evans Barton. I am a trauma informed healing coach. I am the #1 reunification expert in the country. We're about to find out in the world. Y'all keep me in prayer. I was supposed to go to Africa in November, but then the variant, I kept getting delayed. Crazy enough, Jason. I kept getting delayed at the beginning of November. And funny enough, that's when the variant hit Africa. My God, he protected me. And I was supposed to leave right after Thanksgiving. And guess what hit? The travel ban and all that hit right before Thanksgiving. Got my ticket, everything. And so I am working on that trip now. Oh, let me announce this. I have some things coming up. We were going to do the retreat. I was going to start promoting it tonight. Unfortunately, with the COVID variant, we're going to push that off until maybe August, September. I've got to talk to my speakers to see where they are with it. We are doing the retreat in Sedona, Arizona. But this would be the time when we were selling tickets. And I know people are holding on to everything they have. And I don't want to put myself in a position where we have no turnout or a low turnout. This is an amazing retreat. I told you guys before, I have a sexologist, I have affirmation coach, I have ministers, I have licensed therapists, I have, good God, I have me. I have my personal trainer. T is coming. I have a young lady now who's been training me. I had a gentleman for a while, but I have a young lady now who's been training me. She's coming because I'm teaching thriving mechanisms, not just coping mechanisms. And then because that's where I get my mental health. And those who know I'm in a bikini, y'all don't even know. That's how serious it's gotten. And I'm so grateful. I ate a little bit during the holidays, Jason and Darren, but that's okay. It'll be off in just a couple of weeks. I went back today to train. And then I have a young lady who does Afro Latin dance because there's something about letting go in dance, right? There's something about it that keeps us, that causes us to be able to thrive. And it's a balanced life in that way. So that's something. But let me announce to you right now that I am actually incorporated in Johannesburg, South Africa. And I'm super excited. I've been given an amazing business development gentleman, Laki, out of South Africa, who has been helping me since I couldn't make it there. They've been filing all the paperwork in Johannesburg, and now I have Joseph in Lusaka, and they are filing everything to make sure that by the time I hit the ground in those countries, that I am hitting the ground running, and everybody will know who I am. And this is exciting. The Fatherless Generation Foundation has just now gone international to the continent. Okay. I don't even know how to, I've tried to I'm like, oh, we're incorporated. No, can we I need to celebrate. That ain't even a small win. That's huge. That's huge. And so I'm going, I don't even know when I'm coming back. I think I know when I'm coming back, but people are like, child, I saw someone, she moved. She was like, I moved to Lagos last week. I'm like, you moved? Just left. I'm not moving. I haven't gotten there yet, so I'm coming back, and I guess Tokyo's got to go with me. I left Tokyo and Dallas. I guess he cut up so bad. They were like, Tokyo got to go to Africa with you. I don't think they meant it that way. I believe God really said that because he is a part of the Fatherless Generation Foundation. He's got to get microchipped to go, though. And that is like, whew, okay, Lord, send the rain. So those of you who love what it is that we're doing, let me put this out here. Donate. Go to tfgf.org. You can donate. You can help reunite fatherless children in South Africa and in Zambia, because that's where we're going to start first with peer groups. We have some therapists that we're already working with. We have an amazing partnership with a very powerful group out of South Africa that is... they have made a mark in all of the continent of Africa. People know who they are. And I am grateful that I met one of the chairmen of that organization. Yes, you got to get, the dog has to be microchipped. I met a lady who's a director of that organization when I was speaking at an event at the United Nations. And so this is how this is happening 3 years ago. I spoke at that event. And so now things are moving forward, and I can't wait to go. I've been ready to go, ready. Can we say ready? ready. So that's my big news right now. I have other things going on. I am branching off into my own personal brand. The Tori J and Co is coming, and the Co is I'm bringing people with me. I can't do this all by myself, and I need a company and a community of people who can help service those that are in need, that have fatherless issues. And I have everything from retreats to books to coaching to um, mother-daughter dialogues. Like there's some major things happening, you guys, and I'm super excited about it. I'm grateful for those who have been coaching me, those who have been around, getting me where I need to be, and we'll go from there. But if you guys love what we're doing and want to be a part of it and want to get involved, just go to tfgf.org. It shows you how to volunteer and get involved, but it also shows you how to get involved on a monetary level. We need the help financially. I don't make a lot of money doing this, but this is what I'm called to do. As Jason said earlier, I understood the assignment. So I'm going to jump off of here. You guys have an amazing Tuesday. It feels good to be back. And like I said, next week, we're going to get deeper into the culture of fatherlessness, because this is the season where you are called to be set free, and things need to be broken off of you so that you can have the life and the future that God intended you to have. Thanks, Jason. I need to type it in there. And thanks to you, the other Jason. All right. All right. You guys have an amazing night, and I will talk to you later. All right. Bye bye.